Okay. Welcome back to I Found a Fox. I figured out the tech. I can't believe this is a very flattering program, this Zoom. I think it's got built-in Botox because I don't look like that in real life. Trust me. I'm an Australian woman in her 60s. I've got a lot more lines than this is showing. Anyway, yeah, I worked out the tech. What was I doing crapping on about iMovie? Like, seriously, that was like years ago that I used to record on iMovie. And I was thinking, as I was saying I was saying this on another video. I was saying, like, I was thinking to myself, why do I need Wi-Fi for iMovie? That just doesn't make sense. And then in the middle of the night, I remembered that's how I record down in the witchy cottage where there's no power and no nothing. I record on Zoom with my phone. I use a hotspot and I record on Zoom, and that's how I was pulling it off. So the mystery is solved. I'm so tired today. I had full moon catch up with my witchy moon sisters online last night, and it was just beautiful. I always love those catch ups so much, and but I always end up really stimulated afterwards, and then I can't get to sleep. And so I tried really hard to get to sleep and toss and turn, and then I thought, oh, this is pathetic. So I just, at about midnight or 12:30 or something, I just got up and I started journaling, and I journaled till about 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was just all over the place. And knowing that I didn't have massive commitments up ahead today, so that I would be able to just take things easy. And so that's what I'm doing, and coming in here and talking to you. Now, the first thing I really want to say is a huge, huge thank you to everyone who has stuck by this channel and been so... it's not about patience. It's just about loyalty and kindness. Kindness has been the biggest thing. People have been so kind and in their responses, and welcoming me back, and telling me why, my channel means something to them. It's been like a warm embrace, and I am really, really grateful, and I just love it. And that's why I'm back, because I was cut adrift and there was something missing. Hello, Harry. And now I'm back, and it feels so great to be back here in the den and back here with you guys. I've got a lot to say as usual, but what I'm going to start with is something really simple. One thing I love about the witchy path, there's Harry, is the intellectual side of it. I love all the witchy books that are out there. I, like so many of you, especially people who follow this channel, I know that you read a lot, and you read a lot of witchy books, and we share, and I love seeing what everyone's reading and what they get out of it, and I love watching the reviews and stuff like that. So I love that intellectual side of the craft, but the other side is that I really love the creativity of the craft, and the imagination that goes into it. And I don't think I've ever met a witch who's not creative. Like, I haven't. Have you? Like, it's such a rich, creative, playful area. I don't know. It's just wonderful, like you don't have to have all the dogma. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any of it, but you can pick and choose and create and make it yours, and play and all that sort of stuff. And so I love that part of it. It's so freeing. And just like the intellectual side, it's also really stimulating. So I really enjoy that. And I think, there's sort of two sides to a lot of witches. So a lot of us have that wisdom of the crone, even if we don't see ourselves as crones, just symbolically. A lot of us have the wisdom of the crone because we are so self-reflective and we're so curious about the world, and we just go deep on stuff and think things through and journal about stuff. And of course, that fosters within us a degree of wisdom that is, it's really comforting to ourselves to know that we have sort of a line to wisdom within ourselves and within our imaginations and within the world that we tap into when we tap into the craft. So we have that line of wisdom, but we also have, on the flip side, the child. We're very childlike because we are open to everything. We are constantly amazed by the world. We see the magic, you know. We can be scientists and you know, steeped in the tradition of empirical evidence and all that kind of stuff, but we can still remove ourselves from that whenever we want and see the magic. Okay, and I think that's the playful, childlike side of us. That, and it's the same. It's two faces of the same coin. It's the witchy coin. So that's one of the things that I really, really love about the craft as well. So I wanted to share with you some books today that I think are kind of, except for a couple, they're kind of accidentally witchy. And I think that you will love them. All right, I think you will love these books. So I'm just going to hold them up here so I've got a shot. Hello. A screenshot for the you know, doobly-doo. But so I'm going to just, these are not reviews, these are just recommendations, okay? But these are books that I have felt really stimulate the creativity in me and bring me into the witchy world in a much more embodied way than just an intellectual approach. And when I'm reading the nonfiction witchy books, all right? So these are all novels, again, that feel really witchy to me. Some of them are blatantly witchy, but others just feel really witchy. And if you read them, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They will put you into that. They will put you into that liminal space, I guess, that is so full of magic. All right. They will enchant. The first one I want to mention is The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. Now, this is really a classic ghost story. Like, it's got all the old tropes. In fact, when I started reading it, I thought it was a bygone sort of novel repackaged, but then I realized it's a modern day author who just uses that voice, you know, so effectively. The voice in this is beautiful. The writing is really beautiful. The plot kind of gets away from it a little bit, but I might be, you know, as a writer, that might be something that I just can't help but notice. But aside from that, that's just a tiny little, it's not even a criticism, it's just an observation as someone who practices the craft of creative writing. Yeah, I did see that the plot got a little bit convoluted near the end and did seem to get a little bit away from her. I wonder what was going on in the editing process and how she was guided through that. But yeah, I just really loved this book, and some of you will already know I bought this book last year in Topping & Co in Edinburgh. And if you know Edinburgh, that bookshop is so amazing. It's 3 stories. It's really old building on a corner. It's blue, and you go up inside. There's all these staircases, and you can look down onto all the sections. It's not a witchy shop. It's just a bookshop. But all the sections, you can sort of see them down below, spiraling. You know, all these shelves and shelves of books. It's a fantastic shop. So I bought The Whistling in Topping & Co in Edinburgh, and then I proceeded to take it with me. It was my novel that I read in the evenings as we were tripping around Scotland and Ireland, and it's set in Scotland. I'll just read you a little bit of the blurb. When Elspeth arrives on a remote Scottish island to become nanny to a young child, she hopes to bond with her until she learns that the girl has not spoken for months, and Mary's silence is not the only mystery. Hypnotic lullabies drift from empty corridors. Strange dolls appear in abandoned rooms. And as the night draws in, darker questions arise. What happened to Mary's late twin, William? Why did their previous nanny disappear so suddenly? And is the whistling Elspeth hears at night just the storm outside, or is it something else, or is something else out there? It's just classic ghost story, isn't it? But it has, you know, it definitely has lots of witchy elements to it and lots of allusions to witchcraft. Witchcraft is not shown in a particularly good light. It isn't often, is it? But that doesn't matter. It's still really enjoyable to read about. So if you like a rollicking ghost story set in ye olde worldy with a really strong voice and really, really beautifully written, get on to The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. Yeah, that's a good one. Now, these are just all thrown together here, so I haven't chosen how I'm going to present them. But I want to say that this next book, in my humble opinion, is the best novel I have ever read. Like, it is superlative. Like, it is just stunning. It's called O Caledonia by Elspeth, another Elspeth Barker. And it's a really small book, and it is so, look at that cover. It's one of these books that I think is accidentally witchy, okay? And it's about a young girl. It follows this young girl, again, in Scotland. And it really, really dives into what it's like to be a misunderstood child. And it also dives into what it's like to be a highly sensitive child in a world that just doesn't understand you and where you don't even understand yourself. It's so poignant. It is incredibly moving, with laugh out loud funny parts as well. It is just so beautiful. It's a character study. You know, it's not plot driven per se, although it opens like a whodunit, because it opens with a murder. I won't tell you too much about it, but because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it opens with a murder. So it kind of follows that whodunit thread. That's the narrative thread that holds it together structurally. But that's just it's just really a structural device in a lot of ways, because it doesn't, it's the whodunit isn't quite what you're really thinking about when you're reading this. You're thinking about Janet, the main character, and you're so heavily invested in her welfare. And as a witch, I think, whether you've come to the craft later or as a younger witch, you will resonate with what life is like for this highly sensitive girl. Again, I'll read you a little bit. At the bottom of a great stone staircase, dressed in her mother's black lace evening dress, twisted in murderous death, lies Janet. So end the 16 years of Janet's short life. Okay, that sounds like a spoiler, but it's not. So this is where it begins. A life spent in a draughty Scottish castle where roses will not grow, and a jackdaw decides to live in the doll's house. A life peopled by prettier, smoother-haired siblings, a nanny with a face like the North Sea, and the peculiar whiskey-swigging cousin Lila. A life where Janet is perpetually misunderstood and must turn from people to animals, to books, to her own wild and wonderful imagination. It's just exquisite. Everyone needs to read this book. It is just amazing. And I love on the cover, it's got a quote from Maggie O'Farrell. A lot of you will know Maggie O'Farrell. She's an extraordinary novelist. And she says, I once decided to become friends with someone on the sole basis that she named O Caledonia as her favorite book. So what else can you say? This is like it's a classic that everybody needs to read, but it is so witchy as well. I know you'll love it. Another absolutely incredible little novella that I read, my brother-in-law gave it for Christmas, is by Claire Keegan, and Claire Keegan and it's called Foster. Sorry, it's by Claire Keegan, and another Irish novelist. So tiny. You can read it in 1 or 2 sittings, but again, it has a witchy vibe to it, and it's just incredibly crafted. I'll read you the blurb. It is a hot summer in rural Ireland. A child is taken by her father to live with relatives on a farm, not knowing when or if she will be brought home again. In the Kinsella's house, she finds an affection and warmth she has not known, and slowly, in their care, begins to blossom. But there is something unspoken in this new household, where everything is so well tended to, and the summer must come to an end. It's not bleak. It's not bleak. But it does hold you in its grasp really, really firmly. And again, it's that examination, that ability to get inside the child that I think will really appeal to the witches out there, because as I said at the beginning, I feel like we are crones and children in the same body and the same psyche and the same heart. And so this examination, again, this really close examination of childhood confusion, childhood loneliness, that feeling of being excluded and misunderstood, again, is explored in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful novella called Foster. So that's a good one to get on. I've only got 2 more to go, okay? I need to have a sip of my coffee, sorry. Excuse me, that will keep me awake. It's very strong. Another book that I absolutely devoured recently. I've been on a winning streak with books, I tell you. A lot of you might know Matt Haig. I'm so late to the party, but he's an extraordinary British novelist. And this one, How to Stop Time, is fantastic. It's a fantastic read. It's about this guy who's born in maybe the 16th century or the 17th century. Anyway, he's got a condition. He's not immortal, but he has an extraordinary long life. Okay, so he lives for centuries, and he sees all the changes. And so what it does is it's a love story. And it flips back between early century England and present day London, where he's a history teacher in a rough high school. It's really funny, laugh out loud funny in places. It's really poignant. It's really acutely observant and profound. And again, so beautifully written. And it starts, at the beginning in his life when he's born in the, I think it's the 16th century. Of course, his mother, who is extraordinary and very talented and very connected to the other world, meets with a very, very, very unfortunate fate, and is accused of witchcraft. And so that's really a tough part of the book to read, but they don't dwell on it. But, as the son of a witch who the villagers notice he's not aging, he's in great trouble. So he has to escape, and it just follows his life through London in the 17th century. He meets Shakespeare. He goes to the Globe. He becomes an actor and a bard, and he does all this stuff all throughout the centuries. And very despairing, he loses his great love during the plague, and cannot sort of bounce back from that, which is unfortunate, seeing as he's alive for like 5 centuries. That's a lot of grief. But look, this is a beautiful, beautiful book, and it will really, really delight the witch in you. And delight the imagination and creativity that is part of our craft and our world. So Matt Haig, How to Stop Time, another one. And the last one I want to talk about, I've been reading this at the moment, so I haven't finished it, so I can't give a definitive conclusion about it, about how I feel about it, but it's called The Bone Witch, blatantly witchy, okay, by Rin Chupeco. Anyway, it is a fantastic book. I think it's YA. I think it's young adult. And I started reading it a few years ago, actually. It was down here in the Witchy Cottage. It got a bit sort of damaged because the Witchy Cottage isn't insulated, so I don't have a lot of books and stuff stored down here because, it's a shed. So it's got a bit of watermarks and stuff on it. And I think the reason I stopped reading it was I got muddled. I was probably trying to read it when I was tired, because what happens in this is it's got this constant shifting perspective. All right. And you have to keep up. So it's it jumps between narrators. So it sort of gets a bit of, can be a bit confusing at the start. But once you get into the rhythm of it, and once you kind of know who's speaking and who's telling the story now, I'm making it sound arduous, but it really isn't, as long as you're alert when you read it and you don't try to read it in bed at night, because you won't have a fucking clue what's going on. It's a really good story. And the Bone Witch, of course, she's a necromancer, accidental. Her other sisters, one's a forest witch and the other is a healer. But the girl in this story, Tea, discovers at a very early age, accidentally, that she is a necromancer. And this is also a world. This is a fantasy world where there are huge monsters that have to be slayed, and it's pretty action, but it's a lot of fun. And people wear what's called a heart glass, and within that is contained their energy, and the witches can read the heart glass, and they can, according to the color of the heart glass and how it's glowing, they can actually assess things about people. It's almost like they have their aura hanging around their head in a piece of glass. There's all these little touches to it that are really imaginative and super, super fun. Again, it's really well written. It's really pretty to look at. And yeah, it's really worth it. So have a look at The Bone Witch, blatantly witchy. All right. So that's all I wanted to really say today. I mean, I had other things that I wanted to talk about, but I feel like I've sat here for a long time, and I'm going to say goodbye now and leave you with those beautiful books. And again, thank you so much to everyone who's talked to me and left comments, and the way forward looks really, really fun. And yeah, I'm really happy to be back. It's just like such a lifeline to me, the whole oh, that's what I was going to say. I'm currently on Facebook. I currently have a free Facebook group for women with online businesses, because there is a huge gap out there for women who are emerging and putting to, in the business world and putting together businesses. It's very, very hard for them to get coaching, and that's reasonable, that's accessible. It's so wildly expensive. So I decided to open up this Facebook group. It's only 3 months. It's a 3-month experiment, just to see who's out there and who would like my assistance and coaching and stuff like that for free. And I can meet lots of people, and, and so I'm calling on coaches and consultants and therapists and witches and spiritual people. If you have an online business, or you're creating an online business and you'd like to talk to me in that sort of space, then come and join us. It's called the Slow Coach Project, because that's my thing. It's about going slow and gently and pacing yourself and not getting caught up in the bloody crazy hype that's out there in the online coaching space. So that's what I'm doing. But someone asked me today about how I because we have a Q&A thread every week, and someone asked about how I manage to keep everything afloat, and all the demands and stuff from running a business, and how I hold it all together. And sure, there would be a bit of talk about time management and content schedules and all those sorts of things. I've had an online business for 6 years, by the way, just filling in the gaps here. But I really think at the bottom of it all, it's about having a spiritual path and having a spiritual life that sits inside and outside, that's the paradox of it, at the same time of your online business, so that you always have an inner strength to draw on, because you will be subject to so many people and so many personalities and so many complexities when you have an online presence and an online business. So it's very, very challenging. So you have that inner core to draw on, but you also have another place where you can, if you want to, if you choose to, where you can literally go to just be, you know, be the witch, or be the spiritual person, or be, you know, where you can talk to those people, be everything that you are. Like last night when I had met with my moon sisters, I was able to just literally, you know, even though it was on Zoom, literally flop in there and say, geez, I need this, hold space for me, babes. I'm knackered, right? So it is a buoy, you know, a buoy, a life's buoy in the sea, crazy sea of online business. And that is what the craft brings to me. And so one of the things that I would say and will say to this woman is, you know, have you thought of fostering some sort of spiritual journey or spiritual life, or tapping into that sort of thing? Because it will hold you as you move through the adventure of having an online business. It will also, I also think that it helps you when you have something like this that's so rich and multifaceted and you know, vast, and full of so many surprises. When you have that, then the other stuff in the muggle world you can hold more lightly, because the stuff in the muggle world, if you get too earnest about it and too caught up in it, it will fry your nervous system, you know, like a cast iron frying pan pretty quickly. All right. But if you can hold it lightly and understand that if it all goes away tomorrow, you're still a witch, you can still sit under a tree, you can still marvel at the sky, you can still lay on the earth. You know, if you can hold on to that, then that helps you move through all sorts of challenges. All right. Enough from me today. I will see you back here again soon, I promise. And I do have another video that I want to put together. I've got a bit, it's bitsy. It's like a almost like a vlog, bits and pieces that I want to put together, a desk tour and those sorts of things. So that has to be put in Premiere Pro and all stitched together. So it's a bit harder than this little Zoom session. So, but I will post that pretty soon. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again soon. Blessed be. Bye.